Skyboxes are probably one of the most important aspects of the player experience in Guild Wars 2, but are also one of the most underappreciated. Where a skybox, in simple terms, is a box with a texture that completely surrounds a level or map in a video game. Meaning when you look up into the sky, you will see some beautiful art instead of just straight black or whatever. And every single map in Guild Wars 2 has a skybox, but most players, myself included, don't spend a lot of time looking at the sky. So let's change that. In the number 10 spot is probably the most popular skybox from vanilla Guild Wars 2, and it is Bloodtide Coast during the day. This is just a standout skybox from the original launch of the game because it's just stunning. Most of the skyboxes from 2012 were pretty okay. Different people have different opinions on them based on one's individual artistic preference, but the combination of blue skies, a beaming sun, and idyllic clouds come together to make a beautiful view. Another interesting idea from 2012 is the idea of the fog layer, where there is a level in the sky where you can see fog rolling around the map. And a lot of people really hate the fog layer in most maps, but I think Bloodtide Coast is done beautifully well. You can also see how the fog layer changes alongside additional effects when the map becomes stormy, which is a cool touch. And of course, like almost every map in the game, the skybox changes depending on the time of day, so you can see how Bloodtide Coast changes as you play. In the number 9 spot is Dragon's End. This is the first map of several on this list where I want to talk about a new piece of tech that was recently added to the game that drastically improved skyboxes in Guild Wars 2. But first, to just look at the clouds and stuff, it's nothing too spectacular. You have a ton of magical energy that is up in the air throughout the map that feeds into the story going on in the map, as well as a bunch of other decorations and effects across the map. Where I think this overall looks pretty cool, where directly above the map you don't see a ton of clouds until you start looking off into the distance. Where I think this is kind of a cool dynamic where there are no clouds because of the events going on here. But as we look off into the distance, we start seeing what I was talking about earlier. Now to give 3 caveats, first, I am pretty sure this new tech was introduced with the End of Dragons expansion in 2022. I haven't been able to find anything about this specifically on the internet, but I remember a few Reddit comments from a couple of years ago talking about this, and that this is when I first remember seeing it. Second, I'm pretty sure this counts as a skybox, but it may technically be a different thing. But for the simplicity of this video, since it's visually the same exact thing, I'm going to count it as a skybox. And third, I'm just calling this tech. It might just be that they have put more effort into the artistic side of designing skyboxes. If anyone has any corrections about any of this, feel free to share it down in the comments. But anyways, with the End of Dragons expansion, we saw a ton of updates to some pre-existing skyboxes, as well as skyboxes that are being implemented in the future, where with this new tech releasing with End of Dragons, they really wanted to show it off throughout the expansion. Where most players may remember seeing New Kaining City while you're in Saitung Province, and Saitung Province while you're in New Kaining City, so shout out to those two as well. But with those two maps and in Dragon's End, we can see this in play, where you can now see far away locales, such as entirely different maps from the map you're sitting in, where previously, and especially since players were stuck to the ground for so many years, they just had massive rock walls and whatnot that blocked views, and that was that. But being able to see other maps and even locations in Terria you cannot visit is such a phenomenal change to the game, and it really improves the look of maps and also player immersion. While in Dragon's End, you can see some cool clouds off in the distance and a variety of different mountains. But I love looking off to the northwest of the map, where a good spot to see this is near the Southern and Emerald Bluffs. But if you look off into the distance, you can see the Great Turtle Highlands. This is a named area on the roadmap that we cannot visit in-game. We see that it is mountainous and that it has that name, that's it. But looking at it from Dragon's End, we can see several different mountains, including some of the snow-capped peaks we can also see on the roadmap. And I just love this so much. Getting a view of an area of Terria that we may get to go to one day is fantastic. And I love thinking about exploring this area and looking down towards Dragon's End one day. And the number 8 spot is Hoelbrak during Dragon Bash. Hoelbrak is another map from Vanilla Guild Wars 2 that has an okay skybox, but I am pretty sure it is completely different during Dragon Bash, which was added after the game originally released. I may be wrong on that, which if I am, this is just a shout out to Hoelbrak in general. But with Dragon Bash going on, we obviously have the holographic Elder Dragons flying around and whatnot, and during the day, it is a very interesting type of skybox, where it is just very, very orange. You got some clouds and some beautiful visuals in the sky. But the real magic happens as the map turns to night. The orange skybox morphs into this purplish blue hue, and the white clouds are much more prominent. You can see a variety of different stars in the sky, and best of all, you have an Aurora Borealis in the sky, which all of these are just beautiful, But there aren't too many examples of an Aurora, Borealis, and Guild Wars 2, so the skybox is just very special. Where fun fact, the green color is oxygen interacting with charged particles at a lower altitude, red colors are oxygen at higher altitudes, and blue and purple are nitrogen. In the number 7 spot is the Isle of Reflection. This is another map from the Ender Dragons expansion, but it is the guild hall from that expansion. With this map, you actually can't see Saitung province to the north or any other areas around it, which is a bit of a missed opportunity, but that is completely okay given how beautiful the skybox is. During night you have this incredible sky with some pink and blue clouds with the moon shining down on you, but the map looks even more beautiful during the day. You have these incredible pastel colors that are even more prominent. You have beautiful streaks of color across the skies. The clouds blend in beautifully with all of the colors around here. You can even get some good shots of the map alongside some of the landscape and buildings around the guild hall, and I just always love stopping in this guild hall and enjoying the sky for a moment before moving on. In the number 6 spot is Snowden Drifts. This map is one of the first maps located in the Shiver Peak Mountains region in Tyria. The Shiver Peak Mountains is the largest mountain range that we can currently explore in Guild Wars 2, with a ton of different locations spread out across multiple different maps with many different mountains, and it is truly a beautiful and magical location. But if you go back to the new tech introduced in the Ender Dragons expansion, the skybox in Snowden Drifts was vastly improved. While you have your normal sun and clouds that are honestly pretty mediocre, we see this new tech coming into play, where you can see massive mountains off in the distance. Not only are they absolutely gorgeous, this does a lot for the immersion aspect while running through Snowden Drifts. I just love how the skybox makes the world of Tyria feel huge. It makes a lot of sense that you would see massive mountains all around, and I am so happy that this map was updated. In the number 5 spot is the Desert Highlands. This is another super popular skybox because of something that I'm going to talk about in a moment, where Desert Highlands is a beautiful map from the Path of Fire expansion, and if you stop to look up into the sky, you can see some beautiful sky. You got blue skies with rolling white clouds across the map. The skybox can look a lot hazier because of the fog layer while you're in the brand, and I especially love how it looks when you get some shots with the Shiver Peaks in the northwestern corner of the map. As day turns to night, the stars come out, where the night sky in this map is very detailed, and I love staring up at it and looking at all the different aspects to the night sky. But the part about this map skybox that people love so much is a very special area in the map, where this technically isn't part of a skybox, but it is super cool, and I think people would be upset with me if I didn't include it. You can hop onto your Jacko mount and go through a sand portal in the salt flats to be teleported all the way up to some of the bluffs and the Stampede uplands. Here, you can go through another sand portal that looks a lot cooler and arrive on a super cool floating sand bridge where you can go through some more portals to eventually reach this floating temple in the sky. Here you got some fun decorations, chests, and a mastery insight, but if you look to the west, up in the night sky, you can see this beautiful sight. You can see these night lights that only appear in the sky during the nighttime hours of this map that displays a beautiful image of a massive palace, and this is just a gorgeous view that is one of the most popular sights in Guild Wars 2. In the number 4 spot is Amnoon at night. The free city of Amnoon is located in the Crystal Oasis, which is the first map from the Path of Fire expansion, where the skybox in the Crystal Oasis is pretty cool itself, and when it switches to night, it is also pretty cool. But the aspect of the skybox that I really love a lot is when you head to Amnoon and go out to Amnoon Harbor. You can see an incredible view of the night sky over the Bay of Elone and the Elone River. The moon looks incredible here, the clouds look incredible here, the stars look incredible here. I love all the lights, and when you combine everything together with the Amnoon Harbor as well, it looks even more stunning, where the harbor is very well decorated and you can get some beautiful shots of both the harbor and the sky. Additionally, there's a special spot for the skybox in my heart because of how it is a big focus at the very end of the base Path of Fire story when you return to Amnoon after defeating Balthazar. And the number 3 spot is the Mists. This is a general answer for a ton of different locations in Guild Wars 2, where the Mists is basically the reality that exists between all worlds and dimensions, where the planet of Tyria is found within the Mists. But in certain locations, you can see some really cool shots of the endless expanse of the Mists, where the shots that you see here are from the Mistlock Sanctuary, where the idea behind the Mist skyboxes differs depending on the map you're in, so here's what it looks like from the fractals of the Mist lobby, which is cool in its own right, but I mostly want to focus on the former, where it kind of just looks like an outer space environment, where no matter where you look, you see stars and other magnificent sights. I love all the different colors you can see, all the different stars and the potential worlds. I love this massive blinding light that spreads across the sky here, and I just love all the random details found in this skybox. I think when people think of skyboxes in Guild Wars 2, this specific skybox is the first one that comes to mind for most people. and for good reason. In the number 2 spot is the Rata Sum Skybox. I feel like for some people it may be a little weird to have a vanilla skybox this high on my list, but I just genuinely love this skybox a lot, and as you could probably guess, it's because of how it was updated in the Ender Dragons expansion. To look at the sky as a whole, it is actually really cool looking. The night sky is absolutely gorgeous, with a wide variety of different colors and a multitude of stars. During the day, it is also gorgeous with the blue and golden skies and white clouds, with a few stormy clouds here and there. But of course, the mountains. The mountains surrounding Rata Sum are just an incredible view. This is a very similar idea to Snowden Drifts, where we can see the mountains and the rest of the Shiver Peaks from the map. Where here, in Rata Sum, we can see some mountains found throughout the Maguma jungle and other areas. I especially love looking towards the northern area of the map and just looking out into the expanse with the border mountains located inside of the map, and then the extra mountains thereafter. But if you come to the Rata Sum Port Authority, you can see some beautiful shots. You got the Cape of Maguma coming off of Dragon's Stand, then Draconic Mons, as well as other parts of the Ring of Fire island chain. Then you can see some beautiful mountains sitting off of the Tarnished Coast. This just combines everything together. Beautiful scenery, showing off our locations, and giving some hints to areas we haven't been to yet. But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite skybox in all of Guild Wars 2, and it's a skybox from the Old Friends story mission. Old Friends is the first main story mission during the Ender Dragons expansion, where after you meet up in the Eye of the North, you head to Lorna's Pass to meet with Gorik and Anka. You have the whole escort, ambush, Orion being like whoa whoa whoa, and then you arrive in the Aetherblade Armada, which is sailing away. Now there are 3 main skyboxes here, and I'll highlight them all, but I specifically love the third one. The first skybox is at the start of the Aetherblade Armada part of the mission. It's pretty basic, where you are high up in the sky, up in the clouds. It looks like it's dusk, so the daylight hours are waning, and the stars are coming out to say hello. You have a pretty crescent moon, and some other details here and there. And I really like how this skybox and the other 2 look with all these different Aetherblade ships flying through the sky. But as you progress through the story mission, the Aetherblades enter the mist to speed up their travels, and this is a super interesting skybox as well, with how it's super chaotic and orangey. I like all the different effects present during this part of the mission, and it comes together to look pretty cool, but definitely not as cool as the Mistlock Sanctuary and some other mist skyboxes. But after your time in the mist, when you are back in Tyria, you get my favorite skybox in the game. It looks like it is now dawn, where the sun is coming up and the stars are going away, where I love the colors in the sky and all the little details, but the best part of the skybox is how you can see the continent of Cantha coming into view, where we left in Lorna's Pass and joined the Armada as they sailed out of Central Tyria, and now we have made it all the way to Cantha, where most of the rest of the Ender Dragon story takes place. And this is our first view of this new continent that we are about to explore. And I just absolutely love how this entire scene looks, and I was awestruck when I played Ender Dragons for the first time and saw it. And because of all that, this is my favorite skybox in the entirety of Guild Wars 2. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. I love a lot of the skyboxes in Guild Wars 2, so I have a somewhat lengthy honorable mentions list down in the description. Feel free to let me know what your favorite skybox is, whether or not I talked about it in this video or in the description. I would love to hear it. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.